Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 228 of Standing Out, sponsored by SPI Logistics. I'm Trey Griggs, founder and CEO of Beta Consulting Group. Super excited to have you with us today. Hope that you are doing well. It is a Thursday, so hope the freight is flowing. Maybe the cigars are smoking, and you are ready to have a great day tomorrow. It is Finish Strong Friday tomorrow, everybody. So remember, whatever you do, get after it tomorrow. And don't forget to join us at noon Central for another episode of Word on the Street. Excited to have another great show tomorrow. Also, we got a couple of things going on this weekend. It is the second annual Word on the Street Tough Mudder Charity Challenge to support ALS patients. We're going to be running 9 miles and 30 obstacles and looking to raise $10,000. Listen, we are at $6,000 right now. We're going to put the link into the show notes for you to help us out, get us over that finish line, and we might even be doing a match. So keep your eyes and ears open for the next couple of days to see what comes down the pipeline to help us get where we are trying to go. We appreciate all the people that have helped us out. Our sponsors, we've had 6 sponsors jump on board. Very excited to have them with us. And if you get a chance, go to betaconsultinggroup.com and see what we're doing for companies in the space to help them with their messaging. We appreciate all the support around here at the Beta Podcast Network. All right, listen, today's guest, I'm super excited to have him on the show. He has been in the industry for quite some time now, but has incredible experience. He's leading one of the larger freight brokerages in the industry. Everybody give it up for the CEO and co-founder of Convoy, Dan Lewis. We got to let the song play out a little bit. I love it. A little Seattle special with Macklemore there. How are you doing, Dan?
I'm good. Speaking of Seattle, tonight's a big game. Game 6 of the playoffs against the Avs.
Oh, it is. Nice. Yes. That's right. Well, okay. We got to talk about this. What is the mascot for the Seattle hockey team?
I can visualize the mascot. Man, it's funny. I was just talking to somebody last night about that.
It's like a hookah, haka. How's it? What the heck is it? I can't even pronounce it. What is it?
Just think of it as kind of like a sea troll. It sort of just relates to, the crack in the sea, a buoy. I think it's buoy. Is what it's called.
All right. Okay. That kind of makes sense. But expansion teams always get kind of the most interesting names. They can't just be the Tigers or anything. They got to be something, something totally random.
Kraken was a cool name. And now we're about to, win the first round against the defending champs. So
that is awesome. Oh, that's right. Kraken. That's right. I saw it the other day. I was watching, it was against the Avs, right? You guys were playing the Avs.
Yeah.
And I saw that, and I was actually at TIA, and I'm like, what is a Kraken? I had never seen that before. So now I know it's the crack in the ocean or the buoy, something like that. Okay.
No, the Kraken is the sea monster that comes.
The sea monster. Okay. See, I don't have any idea. I shouldn't talk about these things. I have no idea. All right, Dan. So listen, you're CEO and co-founder at Convoy. You've had some incredible experience over the years. Tell us a little bit about your story. You've been at Microsoft. You've been at Google. I want to talk about that because I got issues with those two. But then also you started Convoy. Tell us a little bit about your journey and your story to get there.
Yeah. Okay. So I grew up in Seattle. I'm one of 5 kids, actually.
Where in the birth order?
I'm number 2. So there's
all right.
Oldest is a girl, and then he has 4 younger brothers.
Nice. Okay.
Age difference between us is about 17 years.
Oh wow.
It's a pretty big, dynamic, spread out, crazy family.
It is.
And my dad's one of 5 boys as well, actually, and they had his father had started a local delivery company in Seattle delivering office supplies and paper and furniture. And that was actually one of the jobs I had every summer growing up through college. Was both, I think they had me do accounts receivable for a while because I was good at calling and getting the, payable person on the other end of the line to want to pay us, which is good. Even though I was in high school, I was just good at that. And then I'd also load and drive the straight trucks around Seattle and do deliveries. But, I think this came from just really 2 things. One, I always loved the idea of starting a company. I think growing up in Seattle, I thought tech was kind of cool. I remember Microsoft when they were starting out, and I remember reading, just news articles about this new company. And I was a kid, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. There's this new company someone's building. What does that mean? And then, we had a small business in the family. So just the idea of kind of seeing the whole thing. And then I had an opportunity to learn a lot about supply chain. At first, it wasn't trucking. It was ocean carrier freight. It was warehouse optimization, parts distribution, doing procurement deals for engine aircraft maintenance for airlines. A lot of that kind of work. I did that kind of stuff. And then I was at Amazon actually before I started Convoy, and I had this feeling of like the supply chain is winning. I remember actually writing that down. And my observation was you had this world where, prior to online shopping, we just made the call, like you just had to go to the store and buy something. So you could procrastinate to the day you needed it, but you couldn't be lazy. You had to get up off your butt and go to the store. And then online shopping came around, but at the beginning it was like 7-day delivery, 5 to 7 day delivery time. So you had a choice. Do I want to be lazy, which naturally we evolved to do, to preserve energy,
Right.
or do I want to procrastinate and have option value and wait to the last minute? But I couldn't do both. I either ordered online from my couch and waited 5 to 7 days, or I drove to the store. Then Amazon dropped Prime, and they said it's 2 days. It's pretty much guaranteed. And all of a sudden, you're like, whoa, I can have my cake and eat it too. I can wait and sit on my couch. And so that put a lot of pressure on the little system. Everybody started talking about supply chain as a differentiator, became more important than the location at your store. All these things started to matter. So I was kind of observing some of that. And I just remember thinking, this is powerful. Everyone's going to try to compete here. It's going to be a big deal. Supply chain's getting more and more popular. What could we do there? And that was the reason to look at this space, and then just did a bunch of research and figured out, what a good opportunity would look like.
I'm not going to ask when you graduated college. I know you went to Yale, and I'm not sure how they do things there, but I remember ordering my textbooks from Amazon, the used textbooks, because they were half the price, but they took a week or 10 days to get there. You had to think ahead of time before the school year started and get them, or in my case, go about a week without books. It's kind of what happened, because I tend to be a procrastinator. So I just had to wait for them to show up. But I remember those days of Amazon when you had to do that, but things have definitely changed in the last 25 years. There's no doubt about that. I bet you got some funny stories from the early days of Convoy, some good memories from that. What was it like the beginning? What were some memories, some really good memories and anecdotal stories from those first few days of Convoy?
I remember, so the first office we ended up getting, so when we started, we actually didn't have an office. Grant and I kind of bummed around a bit, and like one group let us hang out in their office, the Techstars group in Seattle, and just kind of work in the corner. Which was great. We met some people. We started inviting people to just come and hang out with us, and that's how we got people to sign up. Let me think. There was a couple funny stories. So the first office we actually got, we subletted. The carpet was purple. The walls were yellow.
Of course,
yes. It was on top of a jazz club. So every day at about 4 p.m., the ground just started vibrating as they would be warming up for their show that night. And the bass would just reverberate through the ground. I remember I actually had to leave a room. I was shaking. We had a sales closet where we had 4 people and like with a server rack in the corner, and like the room was bedroom. And the first
hot.
Oh yeah, first 2 couches we bought. Used, and one was like a yellow submarine kind of colored couch with weird designs on it, and the other was red. And I don't know, it was just fun. It was like kind of just crammed in there. And and I also remember trying to I remember talking to another startup founder who I guess was working with somebody else in a trucking related company. I didn't know that. And I started talking to them about what I was doing. And then they told me like their best friend ran this other trucking related business. And I didn't know enough to know if that was going to be competitive or not. So I remember I didn't really know this person. So I just started playing pretty dumb. And I remember they were like, the person on the other end was like, started really like I just wanted them to think I wasn't going to be a threat at all. So they were like, they're like really worried about me. They're like, you might not want to do this. Like, it seems like it's really hard for you to follow these concepts. And like, I was and then at the end, it was actually really funny. And person was like, I'm just smarter than most people. And I was like, wow, that's really humble. But like, it's probably going to be hard for you. I'm just smarter than most people. And I was like, cool. I don't know if I'll be able to pull this off. My whole goal of that conversation was I didn't want to let on that I was going to actually go try to build something in a space I didn't really understand yet. But it was just all these little things, like trying to navigate this world and figure out how to do a startup. We didn't even have a bank account or an incorporated company when our first check arrived to us for the we're raising our money.
What do I do with this? What do we
we had to open a bank account in like 2 days, and so that's why our anniversary is on April 1st, because that was the Friday that we could make it open. So there's a
That's
lot
a
of
great story. Yeah.
story.
I love that. And, going back to the jazz club, I bet the happy hours after work were probably legit, I mean, you just either stay in the office or go downstairs. Either way, it's, it's not too bad.
You just stay in the office and just get your own private show.
Did you start Convoy as a tech company or as a logistics company and then move into tech? What was your start there at the beginning? What were you focused on?
I didn't define it. I thought of it more as a tech company because I came out of tech, but I had worked in logistics as well. And so the way I actually thought about it was there's kind of two ways to work on an industry. One is to have a business in that industry or a model that works and say, how do I make this better with technology? And everybody does that. Every company does that. The other way is to say, let's just start by figuring out what all the problems are. Let's go talk to the buyers, the sellers, the existing providers. Like, what do they not like? What sucks about their job? And then consider those the first principles for designing a solution or coming up with a solution. Then that solution becomes the business. And so we took that approach. And I remember writing on a whiteboard when we were investigating truckload brokerage. I think I broke it down into like 20 or 22 steps or something like that. And we actually, under each step, we wrote down, in the first year of doing this, do we believe that this step will be automated so nobody has to do it anymore? Will it be something that Convoy does on behalf of the other party? Or is it something the other party can self-serve and do themselves for every step? And the vast majority was either they're doing it or we're doing it. It wasn't going to be automated early on. There's going to be a lot of human component to this. And then we said, what do we think at 5? And then kind of in the infinity state, like way out there. And obviously we said, we think it's going to get more automated, but in a business like this, it's never just one. You have to think about, you're building a service that creates value for your customer. And then technology is one, and if new technology, new process is one way to do it. And that's combined with the way you do it with the people on the team. So I don't know, that's how I think about it. And I think that's called a tech company. But I think that that's how I approached it, at least. And obviously the world looks at it, labels it. And obviously we came from tech, so it was easy. And we were thinking about the technology aspects of how we could make it better. But we never thought of it as like, the goal is to create software for this business. The goal was to deliver value for shippers and trucking companies, and now brokers as well.
Yeah, I like that. And I like the fact that your approach is going to customers and asking what their problems are. I think that too often tech companies or developers, I don't know who's maybe to blame, but they have an idea and they just want to build the idea. And they don't necessarily know if it's going to work. They think it's going to work, and almost like trying to find a problem for that solution as opposed to, finding the problem first and building the solution. How have you guys done that to evolve? I mean, you guys started obviously with a tech focus, but it's just continued to evolve over and over. With the carrier experience now, working on some new technology for digital freight matching and the things you're trying to accomplish. Do you approach technology still from that customer-centric perspective, or do you feel like you guys have learned enough that you kind of are now taking the industry where it needs to go? And the reason I ask is because somebody like Steve Jobs, for example, he knew what the market wanted in a kind of a scary way. He knew we wanted all of our music on one device before we did. So how do you guys look at technology now that you've matured quite a bit as a company?
I don't think you can ever stop trying to figure out what is bothering your customers. But one of the values we wrote down early on was solve needs, not wants. And what was important, at least the way we thought about that, was it's a little lazy to go ask a bunch of these companies what they want, because what they're going to generally say is, I do this thing today. This is how I view the world today. And I kind of want this other feature, or I want this situation. What you really want to try to understand that's a little bit harder is, what do you need to be really successful? Like, what are the things that would be necessary for you to do that? And then we can go build those. So you want to ask the customer, but the customer's not telling you the answer, right? The customer's telling you the thing that's broken or what they need to have to be successful. And then you have to go figure out the right way to solve it. It's very rare you can get away with just kind of building only what your customer just says to go build. You should ask them the problem, not the solution.
Yeah. I think it's critical because you can go down some rabbit trails pretty quickly and waste a lot of time, waste a lot of money, and move in that direction. Have you had some projects that you look back on? I mean, not every project works out the way you want it to, especially from a technology perspective. Have you guys had those experiences where you built something you thought it was going to be great, and either you just shut it down, or maybe it led to something else that you wouldn't have anticipated had you not at least tried that? How has that experience been?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've had many situations where we went down one path and had to quickly change. The first time that ever happened was when we started. Most of the truck drivers were using Android phones that were using smartphones. Samsung Galaxy S3 was like the first kind of free phone given out in 2014, 2015. And so we thought, well, let's just build everything for the Android platform. And we will just, at the beginning, we'll like loan people an Android phone to use to get this going if they don't have one. And what we realized very quickly was a lot of people actually were getting iPhones, and iPhones were becoming more affordable, and nobody who had one of those was going to use a second phone. No one was going to use the second phone you gave them. It had to just work on their primary phone. And so we had to pivot really hard. We were going to build something, and we had to completely stop building that and go build the iPhone app in like 2 months, because we realized this idea of giving them something else wasn't going to work. And so that was an example. Another thing we did at one point, we served like every customer size. We worked with small shippers, medium shippers, large shippers, doing truckload, and we built solutions for all of them. And then we decided that actually, from a focus perspective and innovating in a more focused way to make progress faster, we should narrow the types of specific customers we're out there building for. And so, we went to some of the larger shippers, and we stopped building the software and kind of stopped investing in the software that was designed for the longer tail. Not that we don't want to do that, but so you have to just make choices. You can't always just do everything. And I think we only do truckload because of that. We really believe we can build the best truckload solution, not only for Convoy, but for other brokers and logistics companies as well. And I have a vision of where I think this goes, which is traditionally you've had asset carriers as one option and brokers as another option. And there's kind of this hybrid carrier model, which I think is really powerful, which is, as a broker, you have a lot of trucks and trucking capacity on your platform, but it's all plugged in digitally and engaging with you through a digital platform. So it's really orchestratable, and it's really shared across all the loads. And then you have trailers you put on top of that. And those trailers, you're kind of helping manage and deliver as well. And that combination of really flexible power capacity with a really flexible shared trailer network in combination, it lets you offer all the benefits of an asset carrier, really high service quality, dependability, and drop and hook services directly, and also the flexibility of a broker. So you can have flexible drop and hook. And that's the combo that, like, now when I look at like what I've shed, it's like, okay, I think that's the future. So now I have to figure out, what am I not going to invest in, so I can go start working towards that.
Yeah, I think we're seeing more of the trailer pool model. Seems like it's becoming a little more popular. At least I'm hearing about it more. Maybe it always existed on some level, but I feel like I'm hearing that as a strategy that a lot of brokers are really employing, is a trailer pool model, power only model. It's becoming much more popular. In your opinion, what's the biggest problem that you guys are trying to solve for today in the supply chain?
So it depends on the customer we're solving it for. For our shipper customers, one of the things they are asking us for the most that we're solving for them is, how do I have more flexibility in the drop and hook solutions that I get? I want to have the ability to preload trailers, run that trailer pool, but I don't want to have to, if I go above my weekly quota, I don't want to have to fail over to live. And if I go below, I don't want to be paying a bunch of fees for the trailers that are underutilized. So how do I have a flexible trailer solution? That's something. Another one is just data on the facilities that they operate. If I can see the experience of a carrier on a lot of dimensions going in and out of my facility, and all the ratings and scores and timestamps and everything, and I can compare how my facilities perform across the country, I can understand maybe why my costs or service is changing in areas that I can actually influence. Or I can compare myself to other companies that are shipping freight in my neighborhood or my city, and I understand how I'm stacking up competitively from the viewpoint of a carrier. So those are two things that are really, for customers. For the broker and logistics side, we've invested a lot of money in building a technology platform that allows these trucking companies to engage digitally, and then to continue to engage digitally, provide you with real-time tracking, documentation, answer questions, deal with exceptions, all these things through this platform. And the capacity is kind of the long tail of capacity. A lot of brokers don't invest in that capacity directly because it's kind of expensive to have digital access to the very long tail and have a platform. And so we're making that available, plus like these shared trailer concepts, to other brokers and 3PLs. I think for them, it's how do I get access to this capacity I don't have with my current carrier sales team today?
Yeah, I heard about that. Convoy for brokers is, I think, what you guys brand that as. And we're going to talk about that in just a minute, because I heard about that going, this is really fascinating that a broker is building technology for other brokers. And one question I have about the technology build that you just talked about, the problems you're solving, specifically, we talked about location information, the experience that a carrier has a location. Are you guys trying to build that internally? Or at what point do you say, hey, are there companies out there who are best in class at this that we partner with? How do you view the buy versus build for a company of your size?
So specifically related to the location of the truck, there are companies that aggregate location data, like a Project 44 or 4Kites. There's other ones that do that, and they'll aggregate that on behalf of a shipper. And the shipper can choose how much they care about that and whether they want that or not. And then if they do that, we will plug into those services and provide really high fidelity, high resolution, high frequency location updates. So we can be a really good source, and maybe the best source for sort of location aggregators. In terms of us getting the location ourselves from our carriers, if they're using our app and our technology platform, which is for far more than just location, if they're using that, we get really high quality location data, both from the app, the Convoy app that they would use, as well as the trailers that we run that are all connected. So that's our primary source of location information. We have the ability to to have backup options to other visibility sources as well, which could be through an ELD that's providing location data, or even through an aggregator that we might plug into if for some reason we don't have that. But our system works because people are plugged in and using the technology. And if that's not the case, then we'd use somebody else. But it's just sort of default. It comes out of the box with how we operate.
I love it. I love it. It's a good question to try to figure out if we're going to build or we're going to buy. We're going to pause on that for just a minute, because Dan, every day on the show, we like to have a little bit of fun. We like to celebrate the national days. Now, some of these are really easy, like a Good Friday or an Easter or whatever. Some of them are kind of weird. Do you know what today's national day is?
I think it's Bring Your Kid to Work Day.
It might be. I don't know. We always pick one. There's like 3 or 4 to choose from. We like to pick one
every day. And I'm not at work, so I'm not bringing my kids to work.
Clearly. Now, today's national day is, let's see. Are you a gummy bear fan? Do you what's your candy of choice? Can you plow down some gummy bears, or no, thank you?
I definitely have a sweet tooth. I would say, sadly, my biggest side craving is probably goldfish, which is not in the sweet category. But I really like. I'm just gonna.
You've got them right there. Oh, look at this. That's legit. That's not just a little.
My assistant gave me that for my birthday not too long ago, amongst some other things. But she was like, "You need this." But I do love gummy bears. I like gummy worms, gummy bears. Yeah. I think the reason I limit myself more, obviously, there's like health and just, it's not good for your teeth. You just got to think about these things. But once you start, it's kind of hard to slow down. So, are you regular gummy bears or like sour, patch, like sour gummy bears? Which way do you go there? Man, they're both really good. I actually like both of them. I would, if I was given the choice and I had 2 in front of me right now, how I'm feeling, I'd go for the regular gummy bears. Yeah. But there can be moments when I would absolutely go for the Sour Patch. Probably in a movie. I'm more of like a movie Sour Patch. There you go. Okay. All right. That's good to know. And the little box, that's good. The sweet salt mix, though, is really good. I'm with you on that. So the goldfish with the gummy bears together might be a winning combination. That's a winner. That's for sure. I'm going to trust you on that one, and then I'll try it. You get too much sweet, then you got to have some salt to balance it, and vice versa. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, rotate. Maybe the taste. Yeah, maybe the taste isn't great, but the sweet salt, you got to have the balance in that. Well, happy Gummy Bear Day, everybody! Go out and get some gummy bears today. Enjoy that. Go check out a movie. The other thing we like to do is we have a random question of the day,
And it's very random. I haven't seen it yet. We let our podcast producer come up with this question. It could be funny. It could be serious. It could be a great question. Could be a dud. I have no idea. Let's go ahead and see. The random question of the day today is... All right. Now, as a CEO, you probably don't have to give a whole lot of excuses, but what is the most ridiculous late to work excuse you've ever given?
Oh, that I've given or that I've heard?
Well, let's do either. Maybe ones you've heard, ones you've given. Either one.
Man. Let me just think about this for a second. I think that I remember somebody calling me while swimming.
Which is difficult just in and of itself.
They were saying that they had decided they thought it'd be a good idea to swim to work, like to swim from Seattle, and they were swimming like on Lake Union, like down towards Seattle. And
I'm gonna be a few minutes late.
They had like a baggie with their phone, and they were like kind of tired, not going as fast as I thought I was gonna go. Swimming in.
I still got a mile left. I'll be there by lunch.
Also kayaked in once. They kayaked in, which was less ridiculous. They were kayaking, but they were like really good. It's actually a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. It's windy out here.
In Seattle are people kayaking to work and calling in and being late.
I don't know if I have any great excuses. Mine are all probably really boring.
I know. And I work from home, so I don't even, it's like, did I not get out of bed today? That's really the only reason I'm late is, something like that. So anyway, so that's an interesting question. That's our question of the day. If you come up with a good one, you'll have to let us know if you remember a good one, or maybe your assistants might have some good ones. I can say this once. I was late when I was a school teacher once. I overslept. It wasn't a creative or ridiculous one, but there is no worse feeling than getting a call from the assistant at school saying, "You coming in today?" And the kids have no teacher and you got to walk in and you're embarrassed. That's kind of the worst. Just throwing clothes on, trying to get in there. That was in my younger days. So that was not a ridiculous excuse, but it was pretty embarrassing. So we'll finish on that one. Okay, that question was okay. Some are great. Some are that was just. We're going to give that one like 3 stars. Not great. All right. All right. We're going to finish with this real quick. So you have this new product called Convoy for brokers, and as you discussed, it's providing a little bit more capacity, especially to small and medium-sized brokers that maybe don't have access to that. How does this service compare to other load boards or marketplaces? We're seeing digital freight matching platforms and load boards and all those types of things. How would you describe that? And why would a broker want to connect with another broker? Let's talk about that for a moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think we need to think, I think it's going to be more of a neutral platform in the future. So we're really working on how do we kind of develop this. So I'll give an example of why somebody would want to use it. Let's say you're an asset-based carrier and you have you also have a brokerage you're running. When you're able to do the work with your own assets, you have great connectivity, visibility, and really good, access to that driver. And then if you have to fall over and support your loads to your brokerage, you end up having a lot less consistency and visibility into what's going on. Because Convoy's brokerage model is very plugged in, where it's like the drivers and the dispatchers are plugged into our technology platform. We're going to get high fidelity data about where they are. We're going to get documentation. There's a lot of options to communicate back and forth through the technology. That fall over to a capacity, brokerage capacity is going to be really clean. You're going to have maybe a higher quality or higher fidelity visible one. And probably the network that we tap into, because we have a technology-based approach to this, it's cost effective for us to go and have a network with a lot of really long tail carriers and smaller carriers out there and owner operators. A lot of brokers don't actually build a really good Rolodex or network of that carrier group. They work with carriers that have between 15 and 500 or 1,000 trucks. Many brokers tell me this. And so this is a way to complement their network. So we have this other network, they can go tap into it. And if they find trucks through that network, then they can contract directly with that truck. And that's a truck and when we do our research, oftentimes the majority of the trucks they're finding and getting capacity from are not in their own network. and they can compare the rate. They can look and see what Convoy's rate was, what that truck's offering to do it for, what our rate is for that, or what their own rate would be, and they can pick the lower of the two. And so then they're just only using it if they're saving money as well. That's another reason to do it. So you kind of have this option value. It's like a co-pilot where you get this other bid in, you can just take that one in addition to the one you're doing through your own process. So there's a bunch of reasons why it makes sense to do it. And what's different about it is it's a really kind of like vetted closed network. So these are only trucking companies that have gone through Convoy's kind of onboarding process, have worked with Convoy before, are using our technology platform, are fully plugged in. And then so when you book with that carrier, they run the job on the Convoy tech platform. So effectively, we're like a technology platform provider when that happens. And that's really our role, is we just facilitate with the technology at that point, but the truck's, running for you as a broker.
Yeah, so it's really a move to become a little more of a neutral player, like you said, which I think, honestly, it's really the only way that it kind of works is if a broker feels like there's some neutrality to this. And there's some firewalls in place, of course, with their data and what's going on. But I'm definitely seeing more of this collaboration spirit, which is exciting to see among brokers, among tech companies, which is great. All right, Dan, listen, we're rolling towards the end of the show here. I have one last thing for you. I hear that from time to time, you wear flip-flops around the office. Not a ton of CEOs wear flip-flops. I'm loving it, man. I want to see a picture of you rolling down the office with some flip-flops on sometime. Is this a true story or is this a rumor?
This is a true story. I'd say it was more common prior to COVID and, slightly more common when there's good weather. Honestly, I wear flip-flops because it's easy, but I also it's just like way more comfortable on my feet. Just like feels good.
Yeah.
I had some foot issues from running for a long time. And when I throw on flip-flops, the issues just went away. So I'm like, okay, no pain, feels great. I'm just going to go with it.
Keep wearing these. That's right. And I love people who are not afraid just to be themselves. I was actually talking to a lot of women at TIA who were like, I want to wear tennis shoes, but I feel like I got to wear heels. And I'm like, wear the tennis shoes,
Yeah.
I mean, like don't mess up your feet just to feel like you got to, look a certain way for us. So I love that, man. That's cool.
I have this funny story related to footwear. Early on at Convoy, I was down near Portland and I had a last minute opportunity to go meet with some people at Nike.
Oh, nice.
And I forgot to change my shoes. I was wearing, I think, Saucony shoes. Like going to Nike and someone I'm with and with somebody else from Convoy, they're like, Dan, you're wearing, what are you doing? And I'm like, shoot. So I'm like trying to hold my backpack, kind of to block the view of them. We're walking down the hallway to the conference room. I'm like maneuvering myself, sitting there. I'm like, okay, maybe I pulled this off. Maybe they didn't notice. My favorite part was at the end, the guy from Nike's he's like, hey, we just had a little side meeting over here. We just want to let you know we've all volunteered to give you, our employee badge access to the company store. You can fix your footwear problem. And I
love it. Great.
Well done. Exactly.
Well, hey, at the end of the day, you get a discounted pair of Nikes.
And my friend was like, you should have just gone in barefoot and said it was some weird CEO work.
Have you seen the movie Air yet? Have you caught this movie yet?
Which movie?
The movie Air, which is about how they got Michael Jordan to sign with Nike. Have you seen that one yet?
I have not seen that yet. That sounds cool.
Yeah. I'm excited to see that. It's going to be a great movie. It's another Matt Damon, Ben Affleck movie, I believe, that they wrote. So excited to see that. Well, Dan, hey, listen, man, it's been great having you on the show. Thank you for your time. Always good to hear the Convoy story. Hope that we can get you back on here sometime soon. Until the next time, man, have a great weekend. All right.
Yeah, really appreciate it. You too. Have a great weekend.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks.
All right, everybody. Now, listen, we got another great show tomorrow for Word on the Street at noon. Make sure you come back for that. And don't forget the Tough Mudder Charity Challenge coming up this weekend. We got to get to 10 grand. Want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at SPI Logistics, the leading logistics firm in North America, the respected network of 65 offices and 60,000 carriers throughout Canada and the United States. To learn more and get started with them, reach out to success.spi3pl.com. And thank you so much for watching today. We appreciate it. We will see you guys on the flip flop. Peace out.